Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the library this evening. Our program is How to Start and Run a Successful Store. Our presenter tonight is Mercedes Gonzalez. She is a founder of Global Purchasing Group. And Mercedes will be speaking to you about the things that you need to know to start and run a successful retail business. Mercedes.
I'm Mercedes Gonzalez. I'm the director of the Global Purchasing Group, which is a buying office here in New York City. And basically what we do is we develop strategies for retailers. We work with 3 different kinds of retailers, people that have been in business for 100 years, and they need to update their selling systems, their technology, their merchandising. We work with people that very unfortunately are not doing well, and we try to recover as much of their business as we can. And we work with startups, people that are just getting into the retail business. So tonight's class, how to retail essentials, how to open and run a successful retail store. I cannot tell you all the details of opening up a retail store in an hour and a half, but I will do my best to tell you all the things that maybe you don't know you needed to know before opening a store. So, first thing is you'll need to decide on what type of store, the kind of retailer you want to be, where it's going to be located, the things that you will sell, how big a store you will need. So let's talk about what type of store. There's department stores like Macy's. Now everybody says, oh, that's too big of a store. A department store doesn't have to be the size of Macy's. It's a store that has several departments. They used to call them family stores. You could have some men, some women, some children, some accessories, and all of a sudden you have a little mini department store. It could be a specialty store, a boutique, a chain store. And really, I'm going to tell you one little thing here. It's important to think big from the first day. The idea is not to have one store. The idea is to have 3 or 4 stores. And category busters, which are your Petcos, your Toys R Us, your Office Max, where they take one category and really blow it out. And your discounters. So let's talk about what kind of retail theory. It's basically 3 of them. You want to have either a low markup with a high volume and a huge selection. You want to have a high markup with a lower volume but a full selection. Or a high markup with a low volume and a smaller selection. And I'll talk about what each of those means. Where is it going to be located? It could be in the downtown business district. It could be in a shopping center. It could be in a strip mall. It could be a freestanding store. It could be a room in your house. Now, usually when I get to this one, people turn their noses up on it. But where do you think Filene's Basement started? Or Loman's? Those are really, Loman's, her story is really a great story. It's a book I really recommend. An internet website, and I have to tell you something about internet website. For a retailer of fashion, it's very, very difficult to make a living just having an internet presence. Flea markets or fairs or street fairs, home shopping parties. There's a lot happening right now with home shopping parties. It's a big trend. People, especially depends on what it is that you're selling, but baby clothing does amazing in home shopping parties, accessories, lingerie. There's a story that was written a couple of months ago in the New York Times about the $1 Million Babes and how they've sold $1 million worth of baby clothes working 4 or 5 days a month. Can you imagine? And catalogs. So what will you sell? This sounds kind of simple because you think, well, I'm going to have this kind of store or that kind of store. It's really actually important. You can't pick the kind of store without knowing where it's going to be. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what is the need in your area? Now, this could be a little deceiving. If you find, and I'll give you an example of a store that opened up next to Stuyvesant Town. Do you know where, here in the city? Stuyvesant Town doesn't allow any pets. So when the lady was looking around and figuring out what kind of business needed in this great retail location, she said, wow, there's no pet stores, and the people here, their demographics are, meet a certain criteria that they have a lot of disposable income and they're single, or, they're young couples, and usually that kind of demographics would have pets and spend money on them. So she opened up a pet store without realizing the reason why there weren't any pet stores is because the people are not allowed to have pets in that building complex. So just because there's nothing in that area, don't think that you're a pioneer and a trendsetter. There might be a reason for it. And the other thing should be said too, that just the opposite. If you see 100 pet stores, maybe it's not a great idea to open up 101 in that neighborhood. Can you supply the need? This is very important when you're working with brands or with labels that are really popular. A lot of the times, vendors will have an exclusive in the area. Mostly, let's say if we take a brand name like, I can't think of one right now that's really hot, Evisu jeans. They seem to be hot right now. They might have an exclusive with a couple of stores in Manhattan, and that's it. Like, you couldn't buy the line because of the exclusivity that they have. What's interesting about that, in Manhattan, usually the exclusivity for a brand name or a line is about 3 blocks. And then they let somebody else buy it. In other parts of the country, it's usually 30 miles. So it's something to think about when you open your store.